Hey, I always thought a VRO was a voluntary retirement offering.
Man, we'd like that if it was. I'm just saying, that'd be.
If they're fried some bacon.
Yeah, it's gotta eat, man.
Bacon.
Guys gotta eat,
Bacon. So you did a video on a voluntary retirement offering?
Apparently now I am. All right. I don't know, there's the gas I pulled out. You can see where it's separated. And this one's a little bit better. It's a little clearer. And this was, I think, the other side of the tank, but I'm not sure. But we got, this definitely looks bad. Like, you can see it. See how it moves? That's that ethanol. And that pulls up first. So, that's what came out of this thing. All right, watch when I fire up this engine and all the smoke. It's what happens whenever you run it. Like, I'm running it on my tank, so I'm at 50 to 1. So you got to think, without the VRO, you're running your engine at 50 to 1 at idle and 50 to 1 at wide open throttle. All right, well, so we're just getting a constant alarm now, which tells me that the oiler's not working. So I unplugged it over there, and I hooked up. Also hooked up my gas tank because I want to see what this gas looks like. But also I got two-stroke oil in there, so worst case we'll be a little rich on oil. But I need to see if that dude is, maybe his oiler tank needs to be primed. It's not primed. I really don't know, but I don't want to, we don't want to damage the engine or anything, so we're just gonna see if we can't figure this out and see if I can start it again. I just kind of think, I have a sneaking suspicion that there's a little bit of water in that gas, and because you're running ethanol fuel and there's no water separator, so if you're gonna run ethanol fuel or something like this, you may need to, have water separator. Let's see what happens. Of course, I didn't even pump this up. You big dummy. So we're not getting alarm now, which is good. It's about 1200 RPM. Still kind of hear a little hesitation. Hear it popping. That's definitely a fuel issue. They were running that old gas out of there or something. I'm gonna leave it right in that range and let it just. There we go, get our thermometer or infrared, thermometer and see. But yeah, I think he's got bad gas. I think he's got some bad gas. But I don't know. It's definitely smoking. Maybe we'll see what's going on with the key. Let's see if we can get anywhere. Some of these seats have a thing where you can tilt them back. I think, was it Erica's rules? Never touch the seat. Lay this down. Could be just something I can lay on. And I gotta get under here. Alright, well, yeah, this is what it's going to be. Maybe it's easier to just take these off. I don't know. Oh yeah, they got like wing nut deals everywhere. So hopefully they didn't go off of that. There's our ignition switch. There's the gray line, which is our, should be, yeah, that's our tack, I think. Is it Gray's tack? I can't remember. Wow, they got some wing nuts in here. All right. Now we really gonna go deep because this could be, yeah, it could be crazy. Maybe we need to undo some of these tie wraps, you know? Yeah, because there is our horn. Yeah, I guess so, because I need to look and see we don't have a tack. That's kind of important. What else I think? I don't know if I can get in here where I can even see. Yeah, I can't see nothing. Anyway, that's our tack, so I'm gonna have to figure out what's going on with it. Let's see, there's a, it's like a ground wire, but where does that go to? I don't know. Yeah, may have to get this, just undo it and then bring it out here because, yeah, that's the problem. That's a problem. And it's gonna be winter time, so it ain't gonna be easy. I have to back this one under the shed. Now if I can get out of here. Okay, gotta do this maneuver. And then you gotta do this maneuver. And then this maneuver right here. Oh, yeah. It doesn't get much better up there up front either. Wow. That light, I don't like that light. Alright, so what do? We're gonna undo this switch so I can get in there, but I'm gonna have to get some dikes. Got my new trim gauge in. Looks pretty good. I like it. That's the one I picked out. So up, down. Anyway, it's pretty thin. It's a little big dude. Yeah. So I just gotta pull the other one off and stick this one on. That shouldn't be too bad a deal, but it's too cold right now to be doing that. Alright, well this is one of those, okay, where do you start? And then you realize you just gotta start someplace, any place. We can go ahead and take the battery off so we're not frying something. Wherever I did that with that. Yeah, I got it over here. I'll give it another chance to charge a little longer. Anyway, a little better, won't have anything. I mean, it shouldn't have any load on it anyway. So something I feel like is pulling the voltage down. Hopefully he doesn't have another one that's got a harness issue, because I've had that on one of these before where it had something going on in the harness. So, but we'll find out. We'll figure it out. It's not a big deal. And I came out and I got some. Get off of there! That's because I'm on this. Alright, hang on. Then I brought out a screwdriver and I brought out a pair of dikes so I can cut some of those cable ties. Then I brought out a switch. I have a replacement switch. I don't know if we'll need it. And I just got some, I don't know, I got some line to do some jumper wires. And we can go from that solenoid. Oh, I have to get out my meter. Well, since I'm here, I can go ahead and get the switch and some of these things cut off of here. I'm sorry, y'all, I'm just like frazzled. That kind of threw me for a loop a little bit. Alright, I checked it out. I got signal from this wire all the way back to the signal wire on the solenoid, so I already coined him another switch, so I'll just go ahead and swap the switch. Okay, well, I got the new switch on, and of course, something to always slow you down. I had to go get the socket because I didn't have the right size socket. So, but I got it back together, and so now we can check it because I have signal going all the way down that wire to the solenoid, so we'll see if we get it to crank. I want to see if it'll crank, and then I'm going to fix my tack wire because you can see, like, they got this. So we're going to need to try to get some more length out of this somehow. I don't know. I hate to pull on it, but it's gonna have to come apart. So that's most likely our issue right there. Is this stupid connection. Don't use these. See? Just pops off. Yeah, just don't even use them. Just like, don't even worry about them. I mean, it should be alright, but this is unplugged unless there's the plug is unplugged. That could be possible too. Is they unplug this, that's why we don't have tack. Let me kind of investigate that a little bit. Maybe that's what it is. Alright, let's see how we did, or we didn't do, or whatever. If I can even do it one-handed. So I couldn't find the wire that's going to the tack. It's most likely I'm going to have to pull it. So I can pull the wiring. It's not fun. It's not going to be fun. But this should be. So we'll have to put this back in place. Our kill switch. Get on there. It's not in there now? What's the story there? There we go. Alright, let's see what happens here. It's on. Nothing. So that's obviously not a problem. Okay, well I had signal all the way through. What is going on? Let's see if we got signal. Okay, so looks like we don't have any signal coming from hot. Why? I found a fuse that was blown, and now we got her doing like she's supposed to. And I still think we're like, I don't know, I'm wondering if we got some bad gas. I'm gonna take that connector off and I'm gonna see what the gas looks like, because it shouldn't act like that. Ordered some of these radius cable ties, tie wraps. See? Radius cable tie, 8-inch, 100-pack. I don't know where I got these. I got these online somewhere. Or I get them online somewhere. Alright, well, what do we do? Go open this up. I need to put the foot on Larry's outboard. I don't feel like doing anything, man. It's like lazy. Very lazy. It's cold out here. At least it's bright out. The sun is shining. Man, that's cold. It's like in here. It's probably freezing in here. I got me a couple of stuff for stock. I got a couple of solenoids. I need to write how much I paid for them, what I need to get for those, and same thing with those, because I don't remember what I paid. And go look at it. You know, of course I cut right through this, so. Alright, that gets her going. Oh, get that cranked up. Get it heated up in here. Alright, so I got some radius tie wraps. That's good. Put them up. And I got these. And I'm going to have to just go through my phone and see what I want to charge for these. That's what I got to do. I got to find my hat. Man, I got a gimbal coming. That'll be cool. What else we got to do? Man, that sunshine does make it better. We got here and rake this stuff out. Can't do it and it's freaking freezing outside. Okay, what am I doing? I don't know what I'm doing. I got the heater going. One thing bad about this is, like, you know, I don't have some kind of thing to know if I've got carbon monoxide. Some paper. I'm gonna go get the paper to check. Get the gimbal where it won't be rotated. I turn that auto stabilization off. Chucky even here? Yeah.
Don't stick that in my face.
Oh, I'm sorry. I won't point it at you.
Come on now.
I got some extra paper
That's good.
I was going to give to you for packing. Well, it's a pretty wintry mix out there. It's very white. So, you know, sitting here trying to do what I can, making me some bacon and eggs, frying up some bacon, and gonna eat some bacon and eggs, I guess. It's very white outside, very wintry. Anyway, I was doing a blog on deleting a oiler, and from my website. And so I guess we could talk about, you know, VROs. You know, there's some positive and negatives to deleting a VRO on a modern outboard. And, you know, in the end, it's like your decision to make. It's not a simple decision. And, you know, it's probably something you should learn about. But, you know, two-strokes, pretty much from the beginning, they used a combination of, like, gas and oil mixed together. It's the way they're designed. And they were mixed usually in the tank. And, you know, you mixed according to whatever engine you had, like what they wanted. Was it 25 to 1, 50 to 1, 100 to 1? You know, and that just means there's 25 parts of gasoline to like 1 part of 2-stroke oil. So like that'd be a 25 to 1. And a 50 to 1 would be 50 parts gasoline, and a 2-stroke oil. Everybody has their own recommendations, so you just need to go by that. And if you're not sure, try to get you a manual and find out. Because there's some really early on Johnson Evinrudes that, that were a lot different. Most of the ones today are like 50 to 1. A VRO is like a pump. It's a fuel pump. It's going to deliver a VRO, it stands for variable ratio oiler. So it's varying the ratio of the gas to oil mix. Here's Chucky. Gonna interrupt me. He's got his dunce hat on.
Dude, you need shave.
Oh, I know it, man. It's bad. Hey, man, we're indoors, man. I ain't going out there. Are you going out there?
Well, yeah, let's go out there.
No, I ain't going out there.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
Hey,
all my boots are in the garage. I can't even get to my boots.
Hey,
so,
maybe think of that one song from what was her name?
I don't know. You're interrupting
female country singer.
Sanger or singer?
Sanger, yeah, Sanger.
A singer or a singer?
Sanger, a singer.
Or singer?
Yeah. Hey, I always thought a VRO was a voluntary retirement offering.
Man, we'd like that if it was. I'm just saying, that'd be...
Fried some bacon.
Yeah, it's got to eat, man.
Bacon.
Guys got to eat,
Bacon. So you're doing a video on a voluntary retirement offering?
Apparently now I am. Now I think I got to stir the bacon. All right, hang on. A VRO. A VRO is a variable ratio oiler. I mean, anyway, it's a pump. It's a fuel pump with an oil connection. So it consists of a pump, and the amount of oil delivery is based on the engine's needs. So it measures engine speed, throttle position, other factors to adjust the oil to gas ratio accordingly. Okay, it eliminates the need for manually mixing oil and gas. It automatically provides the correct mixture for the engine. And, the lubrication is that oil that's in the gas. The newer modern motors, like with EFI and direct fuel injection, they do use a fuel pump, but they're usually like an electric pump. And so they're different. So they actually have an electric pump. This is a manual pump. So all the old engines, they had a manual pump. And basically a manual pump had like some sort of compression from the engine. Like it was a pulse, and these have a pulse. A VRO has a pulse. And so there's a diaphragm that mechanically moves in and out, and that causes the pulse. So in both the case of VRO and in the case of a fuel pump from, we would say, like, I don't know, maybe historical fuel pump. So those, anyway, they operate the same, but the fuel pump that's on a VRO, it's going to add, or it'll be either more or less according to the RPMs of the motor. So why some people delete them? Well, they prefer mixing, like they just pre-mix their gas. And then, there are other concerns like maintenance, where if you have to change some of the oil filters. And a lot of people never change the oil filter. But on the VRO pump, there's a filter going into the pump, and that occasionally needs to be changed. And then, VRO's kind of got a bad rap early on because they had some failures. Because of those failures, people are like, but then, they've had pretty good success with the VROs after the early failures. So they're pretty reliable. That's my opinion, is they are pretty reliable, actually. But they do, that you get the optimal lubrication for the engine at idle, or there's going to be less errors. All right, well, we're going to take a short break and have some bacon and eggs and toast. All right, well, we ate lunch and now we back to VROs. So I don't know where I left off, but let's talk about this. So early on, the first VROs, there's still a mechanical pump, but they had some electrical features in it where it could read, like it had, sensors in it. And that sensor would be attached to your ignition switch. There would be a horn. And that horn would be a warning that, hey, we don't have any oil. And typically you had a tank, and is like your supply tank. And so the supply tank would just be just like your gas tank, where it had a primer bulb. And that primer bulb, you would pump it up, get the pump primed, and then, the oiler would take care of itself. A little later, they started putting the reserve tanks on the engines. And I'm supposing that's because maybe the pump wasn't keeping up with the amount, like it's supply and demand. So they added the extra tank so that, like, if you got low, you could always pour a little bit of that oil into the tank, and then so you had two tanks. Or on a smaller motors, maybe you only had a tank and it was only on the engine. Either way, you have a tank, and how it supplies the oil is dependent on that. So, some of the smaller, like 50s Mercury they had the tank that's on the engine. You just filled it up. And then, some of the other ones they had you had an external tank. So like some of the early, even direct fuel injection, you had an oil tank, but you had to prime the pump, and it would mix it with the fuel, but it would be direct injection. So there was basically another device. And I mean, even on the Optimaxes, they have, now it's it's another little tank that inside of it has a low pressure, high pressure electric pump. But anyway, you still have a pump that pumps into that. So, not to make it real confusing, but on Johnson Evinrude, they had this pump, which is a mechanical pump. It pumped the oil even from the reserve tanks, and it would put it into the carburetors. And even the Mercuries would do the same thing. Theirs was mechanical as well, but usually was driven off a gear that's inside the engine. And that pump, I guess, was, I think centrifugal is the word for it, and it would pump. And so that's how you would keep lubrication to all your bearings and journals inside the engine. So that's what two-stroke does. So, people deleting them because, they just want to mix their gas. I'll go back and just kind of go over some of the stuff that I was thinking about when I was doing this. So yeah, and then they have maintenance concerns with the VRO. Occasionally you got to change there's an oil filter, and you need to change that. Nobody ever does, but they're pretty reliable. So then, they're trying to troubleshoot too. Like, oh, I don't. This is kind of a thing where it's hard to determine whether your oiler is working or not. And usually, what a simple way to do it is just to take your plugs out and put it on, some kind of spark checker so that you're not firing spark, and just pump up the bulb and run your starter a few times and kind of put your thumb back there and cycle through, and you can look at it. If it's got a tint to it and it's not clear, then it's definitely oiling. You can maintain or watch your tank. So your tank is, if you're seeing consumption of your tank, then you should be good too there, And the other thing is just checking all your lines and make sure you have good lines. You don't have one that's cracked or is leaking. To get proper lubrication in your engine, you want to make sure all of your oil lines are intact. That way, if it is doing it is mixing the oil, but say you have an oil leak somewhere, then it's not providing the correct ratio. So that's something to think about. So you got maintenance issues with it, reliability issues. The early on Johnson Evinrude pumps, the version 1, were not good. The version 2 was a good pump. It was very reliable. But it is still mechanical, so they do go out. Do you replace them then with an old school pump? And typically you don't do, you have some concerns there, because you can have ring buildup where there's carbon buildup on the rings, and then the rings don't, compress, and they get stuck, and then say you have an engine, you have a cylinder failure. I mean, you can have a failure with the carburetor, say, gets clogged up, and even though it's oiling the way it's supposed to, but it's in the fuel, it's how it's delivered into the actual internals of the engine. Where what I mean is, like in a carbureted engine, it's delivering the fuel and the oil mixture directly through the reed valves into the engine. And okay, so it's there's lines off of your engine, and they kind of go from here over to there, and they're just delivering that oil. So you want to make sure they're not clogged up, and to get the proper lubrication on the inside of your engine. So yeah, a lot of guys delete them, but you could still have an engine failure because it's not getting oil. Carburetor is not delivering the mixture to a cylinder. So that cylinder is not firing, and it's not getting lubrication, and then the piston comes apart. Whatever. There's a lot of things to consider there, but their variable ratio oiler system is a mechanical device designed to automatically mix oil and gasoline in the correct ratio for two-stroke outboard motors. The VRO system operates based on the engine's needs and adjusts the oil to gas ratio accordingly. While specific designs may vary between manufacturers and models, the basic operation of VR system involves the following components and steps. So we talked about that: the oil reserve, fuel pump. So the ones from Johnson Evinrude, a fuel pump and the oiler pump is integrated into one pump. Whereas on a Mercury, they're separate systems. You have a fuel pump and you have an oil pump. They're two separate ones. They're not in the same component. And then they usually have an oil metering valve, and it's controlled, by the diaphragm. So that'd be on a Johnson Evinrude. So the idea is to automate the oil to gas ratio adjustment. The EPA had a big role in this. So guidelines from the EPA caused major manufacturers to design systems to improve the performance and emission standards of at the time. So those standards moved over time. Their initial standards were this, then they changed them to this, and then now we're at where we're at. Some states, or even, I would say California maybe has different standards. They almost always try to be the first ones because they're really into the environmental standards. So you may not even be able to run an older outboard in California. I don't know. Yeah, you may have to, you vary the cost between having to add a system and the cost of like a new motor. It may be cheaper to just get a new, more modern motor. But where I'm at in Tennessee, you could pretty much do what you want to do. But they designed the VRO system to better the performance of the engines and weigh environmental issues. So that's kind of in a nutshell. If you want to delete a VRO, like on Johnson Evinrude, there's some videos on that. If you want to test it, usually it requires a removal of the pump from the engine, and you need a pressure tester and a vacuum tester. And it checks the integrity of the pumps, air motor diaphragm, and rectifier valves. You can, install pressure tester to the fuel inlet and pressurize it to 6 to 8 psi, and it tests the integrity of the oil piston seal, which usually causes the VR to over oil rather than dilute the oil with fuel. So a complete failure of that seal could, however, cause fuel to get into the oil, but that's kind of rare. And you can do a running test where you just monitor the oil consumption, but it is a notable convenience. But you can disable yours and to remove the oil supply from the lower motor cover, cap the fitting, and then you're going to disconnect the harness from the VRO and disconnect the aft and hall connector. It depends on your engine, but usually that'll disable the low oil alarm. And you got to disconnect the two wires also from the oil tank, like on a Johnson Evinrude. My bottom thing is, if they designed it for the engine to run, just do that. But the cost as well, a VRO pump is more expensive than a classic fuel pump. They just are. Mercury, Johnson Evinrude, Yamaha, they're cheaper than if you had to buy a VRO pump. So you're gonna have to weigh that cost as well. But I think in the end, if you have a normal functioning VRO, I would keep that normal functioning VRO, and I think that's gonna be pretty reliable for you. So anyway, that's what I want to talk about VROs, and I guess I'll just So yeah, that's I don't know. That's it. That's for VROs. I hope it came out good or not. I guess we'll edit this and see how I did. If not, I guess I can take some more takes.